Hi, how are you?
I'm really good, and all the better for talking to you. Life couldn't be better right now, could it? I mean, you've got everything. You've got the talent and the career, you're international, and you're talking to me.
Oh, it's perfect.
How's life? Because, I mean, I spoke to you about a year ago, and you weren't doing bad then, but since then, probably our interview, everything's just gone gangbusters.
It's been insane, I've had a brilliant year so far. I've been doing lots of travelling, sort of promoting my album around the world, and the response to it is just, for me, I think it's really unexpected. I didn't imagine that people would take to it like they have. So yeah, it's been brilliant, and I never imagined any of this would happen at all. So these whole 6 years have been awesome, and I'm still loving every minute of it.
Your last album was a little bit different, wasn't it? And it was a nice change to hear the new Katherine, which was less classical, more pop, but it still stays to your roots of great singing with great songs.
Oh, thanks. Well, the idea was to make my most crossover album, and I wanted to do something that kind of reached out more to people and made them, feel like, classical music was something that they could access. And so the idea of that was to take really well-known songs from popular music, but me sing them in my classical style with an orchestra, so that people felt like they were having a classical experience, but with music that they already know. And so it's really a fusion of opera and pop.
What's it like being the lady that we know can deliver, whether it's live or not live, whether it's 1,000 people in a studio or 1 million people on the TV? I mean, you've kind of created that now, haven't you, where we know you're going to knock us out the park. It must be a lovely place to be.
Oh, that's really sweet. Thank you. Well, it's just been, it's amazing when they ask you to be involved in, these big events and, things like sporting events or sort of historic events and, things like celebrations. And I really, really enjoy that, because as a classical artist and, studying opera, I never really thought that I would go down this path. So when you are on the bill with lots of these sort of pop artists and you're the one kind of representing classical music or whatever, that it to me is amazing, because I think it shows that more people are getting interested in this kind of music, and I think it's all about really how it's presented to people. So now that you're sort of seeing that happen more and more, then it just makes me very happy.
What do you think is more important right now for you, the fact that you're a big personality or an amazing singer? Because you've kind of bonded the two together. We love hearing you talk as much as we like hearing you sing.
I think the music is always, the first thing, but I just hope that people can see that I enjoy every part of this, and that I'm, trying to do all this whilst, being myself, and I'm putting that across. So I'm also a bit of a chatterbox, so maybe that's why people hear me talking a lot. Obviously, the music will always come first, and that's the one thing that I think if it was ever taken away from me, would be the end of the world for me. But no, I do enjoy. I'm a very personable person. I like to be amongst people and meet new people, and I think that's part of what's lovely about going out and doing the summer shows, is that I get to have that interaction with the audience again, and that's something that I really miss.
And does it ever become normal when everybody knows who you are before you even walk in the building? For example, Graham Norton, all those people, they know who you are. Isn't that strange?
I always find that, I don't think I'll ever get used to that. Certainly, since this has all been happening for me, I've had to sort of go on this learning curve of this media world and trying to, get used to some things. But, when you walk in, I was just singing in Washington in this big concert, and there were 300,000 people there, and also on the bill was Lionel Richie, and he walks in, he's like, "Hi, Katherine." I'm like, "Oh, Lionel Richie knows my name." I'll never get used to it.
How's it going in America? Because, I mean, you were going to crack there and you recorded some of the album, I think, over there as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I recorded all the album there. So I've been spending quite a lot of time there, especially last year. And the album's just about to be released. So this thing in Washington was their equivalent of Remembrance Day. And there were 300,000 people in the audience in front of the Capitol building. So that was like a major first thing to do. And then next week I'm going to be on the Today Show. So it's just really starting, and I think it's going to be a really long and quite a hard process, but it's something that I'm going to go and just work hard and be myself and see what happens.
There's no question they're going to fall in love with you, because the Brits are in right now as well. That helps.
Oh, I hope so, but I don't think anything's certain, and I never have expectations. I've never had expectations of how my albums would do here. So like I said, I'm just going to go there and work hard.
And as for the Oprah moment, it must have been discussed. That's the one that everybody wants to get on. Would that be an added pressure?
Oh my gosh, to be on something like Oprah would be amazing. So, but I think I'm on limited time. I think the show finishes. I think she's only got another season left. So I'm going to have to get working on that one. I hope.
Is there
so.
any dream left? I mean, is there any show you haven't been on yet in this country that you would still enjoy doing?
Oh gosh, I still have many things that I would like to do. I think you've always got to sort of, set yourself new things. I would love to, I think at the moment, the X Factor's been having sort of like temporary judges. I'd love to do that for a little, just to do a little stint, because I so much enjoyed being part of the Pop Star to Opera Star, and sort of being involved as a mentor because of my teaching past, before I got my record deal. So maybe to do something like that. I don't know. That's something that I haven't done.
It was nice, that Alan Titchmarsh programme, because they didn't make fun out of it, did they? They really did try and take it seriously. They did want to create an opera star.
They did. And, and I was amazed by how seriously the pop stars took it. I thought that to some of them it would have been a bit of a joke. But actually they really got into it. And I think the programme highlighted how difficult it is to perform that kind of music. And I was really majorly impressed by how everyone came on, especially like Darius and Bernie. I thought they sang really well at the end of it, and I think it's gone to show as well how much opera has changed. This kind of show would never have been put on a primetime show 5 years ago. So I think it's just going to show that people are really interested in it again.
And that is thanks to people like you and Russell Watson and Il Divo. You've made it accessible and popular and cool.
Oh, well, that's something that I always wanted to do. I don't come from that privileged background where I heard, opera and Puccini and stuff all the time. I happened to be introduced to it because I loved singing, and I really believe that this kind of music should be for everyone. So that's kind of why I make my albums the way I do, and I, do all these different kinds of concerts, because I want to make it more accessible for people.
I thought we were good friends, Katherine. I don't want to embarrass you so close to the end of the interview, but I was searching. I googled Alex Belfield and Katherine Jenkins,
right?
And there was this thing on the internet. Can my producers play? I just wondered what all this was about. Have a listen.
Hi, I'm Katherine Jenkins, and you're listening to Alex Belfield. Oh, he really gives me the creeps. I wish he'd leave me alone.
Yeah, it is. But I have an amazing sound man. So what I do is I let him come in the day, and he sets everything up. And I think he really does get a lovely sound. By the time I come on and rehearse with the orchestra and everything, it's all sounding good. But I think that in that kind of setting, it's always amazing for an outdoor concert, because to have the orchestra on stage, to have such a beautiful backdrop, and people can just come and chill out. Bring a blanket and a picnic and a bottle of champagne, or and just relax and enjoy this kind of music in an informal way.
How does it feel when you're on that stage with the orchestra behind you and the speakers just pumping out what you're creating, and you hit it right and you've nailed it, and then they're cheering? There can't be any better feeling, can there?
No, it kind of brings tears to my eyes, when I see the power of music. And I think that's such an amazing thing how, I think that music, and whatever music it is that affects you, but it can heal, it can get you through whatever you're going through. And so when I look out into the audience and I see smiles or somebody crying, and you think, okay, well that's done the right thing. That's what it was meant to do.
And as for the dressing up and the frocks and the makeup, is that still exciting?
Oh, I love that bit. I am such a girly girl. I've already picked my frocks out for the show. I know exactly what I'm going to be wearing, and it's just it's just a little added extra, I think, to the concert. It's nice to bring a little bit of glamour.
We spoke to you a few weeks ago on the programme about you going to America and the pressures that's kind of going to bring to your life. Is it fun starting again? Because, of course, we all know who you are. We've seen you on every programme. To them, you're a nobody. You're better than that, really, aren't you?
No, I honestly don't mind. I'm not in any way sort of proud about it. And it's sometimes, I think, nice to go to a country where you have to start from scratch, and I'm really, I'm realistic about that. I think you've just got to go there and work hard, and it's obviously you're on a different level to maybe when you're back home, but that's totally fine with me. I see it as a new challenge, and this is my 7th album, so it's nice to have new projects and think, okay, well maybe this is a new chapter.
What is the song that you look forward to that you would like forever to be associated with you?
Oh, what's one song which always goes down really well, and I think it's, it will be always associated with Andrea Bocelli as well, is Time to Say Goodbye, because that is the kind of song when as soon as the first few bars are played, people applaud, and that's the song where you see people crying. And I think it's just a song that really doesn't matter who's singing it. It means a lot to many people.
It's a bit tough, that song, not only from our perspective, because it makes us miserable in a good way, but you've got to kind of put the emotion into it within the parameters of having control, because you can't burst out crying in the middle of the song. How do you balance that?
Yeah, it can be quite tough, because I've been asked to sing at lots of quite, moving events, and you've got to try and just distance yourself from the emotion of it and try and almost be cold and think, okay, if I want to sing the best that I can, then I need to just kind of switch off and go into a zone. And so that's sometimes what I have to do.
I know we talked a lot about your dad last time. We did this long programme together, and you are very spiritual, aren't you? I mean, you care a lot about your family. I think that's one of the reasons you've stayed so grounded.
Well, it's just important to me that my family are so close, and they all are very, very normal people doing very normal jobs. And I just find that when I'm back with them, it's my reality check. I see my career through their eyes, and I see how excited they are, and I think that just puts it all into perspective. So I'm really grateful for that. And in terms of my father, for some reason I feel like he knew what was going to happen. I don't know, but he was very supportive, and so I feel that he's definitely here watching. And sometimes, if I'm going on and I'm having a hard day and I need to give a good performance, I'll have a little word with him and ask him for his help.
I'm sure there'll be a moment on that plane, won't there, when you're flying over to New York, into LA or wherever to do the TV shows, where you'll think, wow, it's happened.
Yeah, I think it's usually just, a minute before I step out onto that stage that I think, okay, Dad, when I've got a little bit of, quiet time and there's nobody else around, then I do it then.
I don't want to sound like your agent or anything, but I do hope they're sending you on a flat bed. We don't want you in cattle class. They're taking care of you, aren't they?
I'm very lucky. They do look after me.
What do you need backstage to get on then, other than your frocks and your makeup? What do you demand?
I don't really demand anything. When I do concerts, they generally ask for a list of things that would make it more comfortable, and they don't have to provide that. It's not like a demand; it's a guide. So, but I'm pretty boring. I ask for towels and soap. I do ask for some Diet Coke, because my friend Sophie, who travels with me, she drinks that, and a little bit of chocolate, because I'm always a little bit shaky when I come off stage. So no, I don't demand crazy stuff like blue Smarties and crystal champagne and other stuff I've seen written about.
You can become very blasé when you're selling out arena after arena, which you now do. How do you make sure that every show is as good as the last? Because that's the tough bit of show business, isn't it? Recreating the moment. Yeah,
but what I find is that I feed off the energy of the audience. So it doesn't matter how exhausted I am. And the last arena tour I did was really exhausting. I was sort of doing acrobatics and dancing and all this kind of stuff. And sometimes in the afternoon I'd think, I don't know how I'm going to do another show. But then as you hear the audience come in and you see the energy and the buzz and everything sort of build up, I find that and it transforms me. So, it really doesn't matter. I'm a different person by the end of the show.